Welcome to Vice Casting Couch, Season 1, Episode 30. I am Ryan, and joining me is John. And I'm just going to get into the first story that I have here. This one, our much-touted app, Signal, is no longer supporting SMS. So if you're using Signal as a daily driver, it will no longer work. Eventually, I don't know if it's rolled out yet. They didn't have a date in here, but it just says sometime in the future. But yeah, Signal will no longer support SMS, so that means normal text for people that don't have Signal will not go through. You'll still be able to see them, I believe, but you won't be able to reply to it or anything like that. So yeah, it's a sad day. They gave a few reasons for it. One was to ensure better data protection and security for users. They want to kind of hunker down, I guess, or kind of close off any sort of vulnerabilities. And then reduce costs for users. Apparently people were complaining that they were being charged for sending out normal SMS through Signal, by their carrier. And then streamline the user experience. They just want to make it easier to know that once you're in the app, everything is encrypted. So I came across this as well on my Signal app. It already locked it out on mine. I know some people it hasn't. I don't know if it's like going by region or what. On mine, I cannot reply by SMS through Signal. It does allow you to move all of your messages and history to your normal, either a default app or to some other app. I believe it lets you choose. But yeah, so it loads it to their default one, and then you can go to any other like third party one, and it can pull it from there. But yeah, so you cannot use Signal as your daily driver anymore, which is I'm not happy about that, but is what it is, I guess.
Man, and that's one thing. Like, I know you said you use it, but
yeah.
I kind of agree with what they're saying. Like, I like keeping them separate. That way I know when I'm in Signal, everything's end encrypted, and, I know who I'm talking to is secure. Like, I just feel like...
So, I would agree with that, but there are indicators of whether or not it is secure. So if you turn on the read indicators, it'll let you know if the other person, like if you're able to see the two check marks and it changes color, blah blah, then you know that they're also using Signal.
So does this, not to cut you off, but does this affect any of the forks of Signal, like some of the other clients like Molly? I know Molly's a popular FOSS Signal.
That I don't know. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to get around that, but if Signal is saying that they're cutting off, that whole aspect of the Signal app, I would assume that would affect them. I haven't tested it on mine because, again, I'm not sure if this is being implemented Signal wide or if they're doing it region by region, because I know some people that they say they're still able to send SMS, whereas I am not. So I'm not sure exactly how they're rolling this out, but it will be interesting to see if they're just cutting it off completely. So and if they are, then yeah, I'm assuming that would break all the other forks.
Okay.
I don't know. I will test it out because I do enjoy having everything in one, and in my opinion, anyways, I already have too many messenger apps that I talk to different people on because this person doesn't have this and this person doesn't have that. So it's nice to at least have all of my texts and Signal contacts in the same area, which was kind of nice. But now, not so much.
Yeah, man, it's a sad day. Another sad thing that happened is the Linux kernel, or at least the people who develop it, are talking about removing support for 486 processors. So if y'all know, 486 is pretty old. I want to say it was in the 90s it came out, and it's just an older type of processor. Linus Torvald and the rest of the developers are talking about how it's increasingly hard to develop for such a niche processor, and it's just taking away time and resources from keeping that still compatible, but then they have to spend extra time and all that on there. So they're saying potentially that Linux kernel 6 will be the last one to support this, and then probably moving on in the future they're just going to stop supporting it. And this is very similar. They've done this before with the i386. They stopped support for that back in 2012. They're saying probably this year, maybe next year, they'll stop supporting the i486 processors.
I mean, I'm sure there's got to be other flavors of Linux that are going to still support it, correct?
So this is the Linux kernel, which most Linux operating systems are built on.
Mm-hmm.
It is possible because everything is open source that someone makes their own.
I was going to say, there's going to be someone who's like, oh, hell no, I'm going to make a flavor that's going to support it.
Yeah, and it's always, that's the great thing about open source is they can just keep, if someone really wants to support something that old, they have, and if they have the know-how and the code and everything, they can do that, no problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought that's interesting because one of the things Linux is known for is they say it's super lightweight and you can put it on old machines and kind of bring it back to life. But
Yeah.
with this, that'll kind of limit which machines are supported. Like obviously x86 based hardware and stuff like that will still work, but just these older Intel processors that came out such a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, it says it was
Makes
first
sense.
introduced in 1989. So if you still have a computer from 1989, like maybe you should upgrade at least to a Pentium or something. Like,
Yeah, it's that's pretty far back to build your modern OS for.
look, trust me, I'm as much of a technology hoarder as anyone. So like,
Oh yeah.
if you got a Z80 or some kind of Cyrex processor, I'd love to see it running. But
Why is that in the IT community? Why are so many IT people hoarders of IT equipment? Like I have like totes full of stuff that I'll probably never use, but I can't get rid of it.
oh, same. I got like an old laptop over here. I think it said it ran Windows 95 on there.
Yeah, I mean, we both have like a stack of laptops that like that. I mean, we'll dink around with them every once in a while, but like, yeah, I mean, people are always like, why don't you just get rid of this stuff? I'm like, no, I might need it one day. If I need that one cable, at some point, I need that Cat 3 cable, eventually I'm gonna need it.
Not a Cat 3. I think it just does one. It has some kind of nostalgia purpose to it, but also like, especially if it's not too old. A lot of times you can repurpose it, like an old, say you have like an old laptop or old netbook or something. Like we said, you can put Linux on there, and you can have like a nice home server that can run some basic stuff. Like if you want to run a Minecraft server,
Yeah,
or
that's true.
maybe some kind of like Plex or some kind of media server like Jellyfin, all kinds of things. You can run Pi-hole in a Docker container, so it can be repurposed, and that's nice because it also reduces like e-waste. Like,
Yeah, that's very true.
so I think it varies from person to person, but I just noticed a lot of IT people they hoard it. Like I still got like 3 cell phones over here from back in the day.
Oh yeah, I have every cell phone I've ever owned. I still have them in a box. I got the old what was it, the track phone like slide, the slide up to get the full QWERTY keyboard.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I still.
I need to get my hands on a Motorola Razr. Those are the OG.
Oh, the old ones. I was
Yeah.
gonna say the new ones. Don't waste your time.
Yeah. Didn't you make a video about that?
I did. Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. We were going back to flip phones when that first came out.
Well, I guess if you're a drug dealer,
give you a little nostalgia.
Well, no, just that way you have the burner phone.
Yeah. Oh no.
Oh no, I also just I like the history involved in some of these computers, especially if they were like influential from their time. Like,
Yeah, that's true.
if I ever get my hands on one of those classic 8-bit computers like a TRS-80 or a Commodore 64, I'll probably hold on to it to the day I die. But
Well, yeah, I mean, if it's something iconic like that, yeah, I could definitely see hanging on to that. Because, I mean, even if it's not for the nostalgia and stuff, they're still, like, worth money as well.
well, man, if you
If
want
they're
to
in
play
good
some
condition.
Oregon Trail, like, you can't beat it.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that's on, like, Flash
Oh.
games now.
Well, man, but the dysentery.
I'm pretty sure you can just play that on your browser anytime you want.
Oh, yeah, probably.
But can it run Doom?
A potato can.
So anyway, another sad news, I guess. Reuters, the world-renowned news outlet, it has been found by Cyber News that 3 of their servers were breached, and 3 terabytes or more of sensitive data was found on a Elasticsearch database and is now being sold somewhere, probably. But Reuters did comment on it and said that they don't believe that any pertinent or sensitive information was actually found. They said that 2 of the servers were designed to be publicly available anyways, and the 3rd was a non-product server meant for application logs. However, Cyber News researchers said that they did find password reset logs, and they also found data that involved tracking people to other websites.
Is it like based on cookies or?
Yeah, just like cookie logs and stuff like that. Just just tracking people around. Basically,
Was this
Cyber
like
News.
access to a database they have, or how does that work?
How do you mean? Like what was actually compromised?
Yeah.
It just says 3 servers, but Reuters is saying that the 3 servers, 2 of them were publicly available anyways, so they didn't keep any sensitive data on there. And they said that the 3rd one was non-product server, meaning that it wasn't involved with like people's accounts and stuff. It was just for like application logs. But the cyber news researchers are saying from what they're seeing being sold, there's a lot more to it than that. So we'll see where that goes. I don't know if this will affect anyone, but maybe cyber news researchers are a little overzealous and it's not as bad as it seems. Yeah, I just thought it was interesting that there was two conflicting stories here between Reuters and cyber news researchers.
Well, and that's how it always goes with any kind of breach of any kind. Seems like a lot of people are bandwagon. They jump on and say it's the worst thing ever. Like back when Twilio was hacked and Signal was involved.
Oh, yeah.
They're like, Signal's hacked.
Yeah.
It's like, well, when you look into it, it was limited in scope. Only maybe like, it wasn't even that many people, like less than 50 or something were affected. They were like, yeah, we're not going to say that nobody was affected, but to say that our end-to-end encryption, all that stuff has any problems is not true, kind of thing.
Yeah, and that may be. One person did mention that even if it wasn't Benjamin Fabre, the co-founder of Datadome SAS, which is a bot protection company, and he did say that even if it wasn't as bad as it looks, he said that obviously threat actors are opportunistic, and any data that they get can be compiled with other personally identifiable information, and then can be used for attacks and stuff like that. So he was saying even if it's not as bad as all that, it's still bad because it can be compiled with other data that the threat actors already have, and then can be used against people.
Oh, of course. And I don't know if you listen to the Privacy, Security, and OSINT show by Michael Bazell. He talks from two different aspects. He talks one about being private, but also how he does investigations on people. And what he does is he compiles all these breaches into a single database, and he's able to see like, oh, this breach had this email address. Let me look at these other breaches, and he can see like kind of get a history of what people's sites and get, like you said, personally identifiable information. Yeah. And he uses that a lot to say, I think in one of his recent podcasts, he's talking about a lady who was involved in revenge porn. And he was able to use these databases to get a pretty good idea who it was. He's still trying to work it out that way it upholds in court. But, just like, hey, this email is linked with this LinkedIn account and this and that. And, kind of like narrows it down. So like there's a pretty good idea who it is and how they can go after them for litigation and whatnot.
Yeah, no, that's very true. Because, a lot of companies will try to downplay it, like you said before. And they'll say, oh, well, they got the emails, people's emails, but they didn't get any passwords. And it's like, well, okay, but if they got the emails for that, then like you said, they can kind of cross-reference it, and then they can just try to brute force other passwords that they found in a different breach or whatever, and then eventually they can basically have your whole identity if there's enough breaches that happen. But,
no, it's still important to talk about. It's just, let's make sure, a lot of these websites, like I said, they kind of jump on the story and make it sound like everything's falling apart. But
very true.
I think that they should be a little more factual in how they talk and stop being a little clickbaity,
Yeah, that's kind of the news nowadays, but whatever gets the most clicks. Like you said with the Twilio thing with Signal, like as soon as I turned on the news or whatever, not turned on the news, but like was looking up the news like on my phone or whatever, all the top headlines were Signal is hacked. They finally got hacked. Like they're compromised. Stop using Signal. It's trash. And then I was like, all right, that seems kind of weird. So, and I looked into it and I was like, all right, it doesn't seem as bad as they're saying. But it gets clicked. I mean, it got me to click on it, so...
Oh, yeah, I went to work and, because I was a big Signal advocate, I was like, hey, look, let's just use Signal. Like, it's open source and end-to-end encrypted, and everyone's like, yeah, whatever. But I did convince a few of my coworkers to use it, and then I come in that day and they're like, bro, your app's hacked. And I'm like, what? And I was like, I look into it, and I was like, no, it's not hacked. It's just part of their, process and whatever was slightly affected. But speaking of Twilio, they just released this week that they experienced another brief security incident back in June of 2022. They said it was involved in they call it phishing, a voice phishing attack on one of their employees to social engineer them to get access. They said it was limited to a small amount of customers and that the attack was identified and thwarted within 12 hours. And that it alerted affected customers.
But he fell for it?
Yeah, they said they didn't reveal the exact number of customers impacted by this June incident.
Oh, no.
But they are working on it.
Seems like they need to do some cyber awareness training.
Well, they're talking about how now they're going to try and mitigate these attacks in the future by they're distributing these FIDO2 compliant hardware security keys to all their employees.
Yeah.
And then they're going to implement additional layers to control within its VPN and conducting mandatory security training for its employees to improve awareness about social engineering attacks.
It's probably smart.
Twilio has attributed this to a hacking group tracked by Group IB in I don't know how to pronounce it, OKTA, but their names are Octopus, spelled with leak speak. There's like a 0 and a K and all this, and then Scatter Swine. And they say they're part of a broader campaign against software, telecom, financial, and education companies. They mentioned that the main thing this affects is, those SMS like things sent for like verifying who it is.
Yeah, two-factor stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's the second time this year that they've been compromised.
Yeah. No, it is interesting because because Twilio is used by so many people like MailChimp, DigitalOcean, Signal, etc.
Yeah.
And there was an unsuccessful attack on Cloudflare, but Cloudflare has pretty good security.
Yeah.
It's just interesting. It should be talked about because it is used by so many other companies. Their back end and everything. It's just maybe they need to work on their whole process. Hopefully that mandatory cybersecurity training works out.
Yeah, Jeff will set them right. So I do think though that Signal will probably come under a lot more attacks in the future because they have been kind of the standard for, or I guess not the standard, but the pinnacle for secure messaging. And they've been popping up a lot more often. People have been talking about them. Elon Musk touted them as being a good alternative to WhatsApp and stuff like that. So more and more people are using it, and the more people that use it, the more they're going to be targeted. So this will probably happen a lot more frequently in the future, if I had to guess.
Oh, for sure. Being a big name like that, all kinds of companies are going to be looking at it, like the NSO Group and all these other people.
Yeah. And even if not for a payout, just for the challenge of it, because they haven't been fully compromised, as far as I know yet. Whereas, WhatsApp has a lot of the other so-called, encrypted or secured messaging apps do have vulnerabilities that have been exploited in the past. Whereas I don't think Signal has any of those that are at least publicly, known right now.
Yeah, not to my awareness. If you go to Signal's support, they do talk about the Twilio instance. Yeah. Other than that, they do have a process of reporting security vulnerabilities, but unfortunately, they do not have a kind of bounty program set up. I'm saying if I was Signal and had some extra cash, I'd consider a bounty because it gives more incentive for people to actually report it to the right people instead of selling it to governments or private companies that would exploit it for their own personal gain.
Definitely agree.
Slightly off topic, but as we all know, if you're a hobbyist or enthusiast, Raspberry Pi prices have been through the roof ever since the whole pandemic situation. Jeff Gerling, he's a YouTuber who loves talking about Pis and using them in all kinds of projects. He had a conversation with one of the Raspberry Pi founders, Eben Upton, and they kind of were talking about the whole situation and how that there's still a shortage that they say is temporary, but they are producing 400,000 Pi boards a month. It's just the problem is there's such a backlog that they're earmarked for either consumer retail sites or to actual commercial customers who rely on the Pi boards to run their business. So they're just trying to work through it as much as possible. The update is that there is no update, and that since April, they're just working on trying to send them out as much as possible. They say that they did mention the Broadcom processors that are at the heart of these boards have been difficult to source because of the high demand, but they're trying to work through it as quickly as possible is kind of what I got from the article. It's just crazy how expensive a Pi is. They used to be touted as these cheap boards that for like $35 you get something reasonable. At least for a lot of hobbyists and even some school age kids that are trying to get into computing, they were like the best thing. But now, I think I was on just Amazon just a moment ago, and they're like $169, and that's just for the board. If you get the whole kit, it's upward of $200. And I'll be making a video shortly, but there's a lot of alternatives, especially at that price range. You can get a full x86 small liter 1 liter PC that has way more power depending on what your use case is.
Yeah, it is kind of sad. Like you said, a lot of people get started on Raspberry Pis, or it just allows people to not invest a ton of money, especially if they're just learning how to do something. They just buy a Raspberry or a couple Raspberry Pis, and then you just kind of see what works. And if they're that expensive, I mean, that's kind of insane. You could probably get like even a a Chromebook or something for that price if it's like Black Friday or something like that.
Oh yeah, I bought not too long ago. I'll be making a video on it, but I bought one of those HP Elite Desk, the 705 G4 Minis.
Yeah,
and it has a 4-core 8-thread Ryzen processor, supports up to 32 gigs of RAM, like
Jeez.
way better specs than the Pi.
Yeah,
And it was only like for the price of these kits that include a case and a power supply and all the cables and SD card and stuff. I can get this like same thing that's way better. It doesn't have the GPIO pin, so if that's what you're looking for, you might want to get like an Arduino or something. But if you're gonna make a retro Pi or like a small server, it makes way more sense to get one of these older office PCs.
Well, hey, that stack of laptops is gonna come in useful.
Exactly. E-waste, man. We're saving the environment.
Win for the hoarders. Slightly off topic again, but something that just kind of caught my eye. I just wanted to get your take on it. I was reading an article. I can't remember where it was, but it mentioned the metaverse, and it was talking about the privacy concerns that are going to come up with the metaverse supposedly being more implemented in the coming years. And they were just talking about the increase in like user privacy and stuff like that. There has to be some sort of very secure regulation on all this data that people are going to be pumping into this thing. But it did say that by, I believe it was like 20 years, they are estimating that the metaverse will be worth $7 trillion. And they're also estimating that stores and such will go fully onto the metaverse. As in, like, you can go shopping or go to the mall on the metaverse. It's just it kind of struck me as funny. I don't know. I just wanted to get your take on that.
I still think the metaverse is gimmicky. I do think virtual reality will continue to expand.
Yeah.
Especially, a lot of the gaming aspects of it will continue to get bigger, but that you're going to shop in a VR headset, I guess it could make sense depending on what it is. I could see like some kind of augmented reality being useful for, say, furniture shopping, because then like if it's augmented reality, you can be in the same room and then you can kind of see, like, say, I'll just use IKEA as an example. You can see how their couch will fit in your living room,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So maybe in some regards, some shopping will go, but I just don't see it happening unless we move to some kind of dystopian. What was that movie? Was it like Ready Player One or whatever?
Everyone has the AR headsets.
They're all virtual reality, but then
that.
like this prisoner's trying to fight for his. Is that the movie? I'm trying to remember what it's called.
I think you're mixing Ready Player One and Gamer.
Is it Gamer?
With Gerard Butler?
Oh, I have no idea.
I think that's the one where they... Maybe I'm getting mixed up. That's the one where they take all the prisoners and they have to like fight to the death or whatever in like
and they can earn their freedom.
Yeah, and then he finds a way to like break out or some spoilers.
Well, it came out in 2009.
I was gonna say spoilers on a like 15-year-old game. I don't know.
I think it would have to take a big shift to that. But on the privacy end, I do see it being a very important thing to discuss, especially with if these things are being targeted at, say, children or other young people. Because I know there's various regulations about the Children Online Privacy Act and a few other ones. I'd have to see how that gets implemented. These companies are already getting fined for mishandling data of minors and stuff like that.
I was gonna say we've already seen that these companies do not give a crap about children online. That is not a priority for them. They are businesses at the end of the day, so making money is their only goal, and staying relevant, I guess, would be secondary. Yeah, there's going to have to be either. I would assume it would have to be government regulation, because I don't see any of these companies self-regulating at any point. Because we've already had, like you said, you have the COPPA, and I think Europe has their own. But
Europe has a GDPR, which is very good, but I've heard that some companies are just like, you know what, we just won't deal with Europe, and they'll just like block you from accessing their website.
Yeah, I mean that's always an option too.
I'm curious to see how Metaverse will play out, especially because is a lot of interest, especially from the big social media platforms,
Yeah.
but also some of the other companies like Microsoft's getting involved, and I want to say a few others. They're looking into it heavily. I'm just a little skeptical. I don't know how many people will embrace it.
Yeah, I think right now, like if they were to, well, I mean, they already tried to launch it right now and it didn't go super well because they tried to get it targeted towards like young people, right? They tried to get it targeted towards kids where you could go and you could play, you could meet other people, blah, blah, blah. And then they started targeting it towards businesses where like, oh, you can have a virtual meeting with a little avatar and no one has a torso, so you can't sexually harass anyone. So they tried like targeting that sort of field. And as far as I can tell, both didn't really catch on. As far as I know, like I don't know anyone who uses the metaverse regularly. I know I've seen videos where people do, and I'm positive that people do. Otherwise, it wouldn't exist. But I don't know. I just don't see it. Like we have online shopping, and especially after COVID, I mean, people were dying to go anywhere. Most people, anyways, were just trying to go out, so they didn't want to stay inside and go on, have a headset or whatever. So yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of the same opinion. I just don't see it catching on, at least right now. Like I think something huge would have to happen for it to catch on. Like something that has a huge draw more than what they're saying now. Because I mean,
Well,
from
and just
the ads,
the cost to get into it.
well, and that too, yeah, it's very cost prohibitive. What the metaverse looks like right now, it doesn't look anything like the ads that they were showing. I haven't seen anything in 4K or anything like that in the metaverse, depending on your rig. But I just don't see it being as spectacular as they were letting on. I think they were just hoping that people would use it and like it, and then just continue to use it, and then they can upgrade in the future. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't see it catching on right now. But,
Yeah, like I'm on Meta's website, and their Quest Pro costs $1,500. Like,
jeez.
I'm not gonna buy that. I'd rather invest in the graphics card and a better processor.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, I could use that 10 different ways rather than buying a headset that I'm probably going to use once or twice and then hate. But especially with the online shopping thing, that was the kind of thing that caught my eye the most, because I was thinking about it, and my first thought, I was like, oh, that'd be kind of cool. You put on your headset or whatever and you go shopping, and even if there's like haptic feedback or whatever, that'd be kind of interesting. But I don't know, just the more I thought about it, I was like, I don't know how you would implement that where it wouldn't be a shit show. Imagine Black Friday online.
Is it going to be virtual trampling?
Yeah, your avatar just gets trampled. People see us go surfing on the shelves to get to the products. I don't see that going like well. I don't know. It just reminds me of like, just imagine like Modern Warfare lobby audio while you're trying to grab like a crock pot for $10. Like
I would invest in it if that's the case. Those Xbox 360 live chats, wild. Modern Warfare 2, the OG Modern Warfare 2, not this new one.
No, the old one.
Well, let me tell you, it toughened my skin up for sure.
I mean,
called disparaging terms and all.
I'm not gonna lie, it was very interesting and entertaining. But I mean, I'm just saying, like, I don't see that jiving with every demographic and every like generation just going online shopping. I cannot imagine that it would be worth $7 trillion in 20 years based solely on that. If they spec into, they already sell data for, they're already $1 billion company. But I mean, if they use all the data that they gather to sell stuff, maybe then it would be worth $7 trillion. But just based off of like user use, I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I don't know about the whole metaverse, but like I said, I think VR and AR will have a pretty big impact in the future. Like, I know some various companies are exploring AR for their technicians to wear, and it'll allow professionals to kind of like chime in, like have like a virtual meeting, and they can be like, hey, that bolt right there needs to be tightened to this spec, or this is the problem with this, engine or whatever. Or like I said, even potentially I could see another use case being like virtual travel to areas that are either hard to reach or stuff that they're trying to control the impact, because like all these tourism things, as more and more people go there's going to be more trash and more litter and potential destruction of the historic thing. Like I know for a while Stonehenge had a problem where people were like chiseling little pieces of the rocks off because it said it was to have like protective effects and all this stuff. So I could see potentially if some kind of natural wonder is in a very fragile state, that you could do some kind of virtual travel or something like that. Or even in the medical field, think about it, like you have a doctor who was like a skilled surgeon, but he just doesn't know some of the aspects, or say it's a very tricky surgery, he can have other professionals chime in and kind of guide through the process to make sure everything goes as smooth as possible.
Yeah, no, that's very true. And again, I do think I do agree with you that it will have an impact in the future. I just don't think it's the impact that they're advertising. I mean,
I don't know about you, but I get tired of being in like some kind of virtual world.
I agree. Like I don't know. Like people always, there's a stereotype of like touching grass and stuff like that. But I mean, it's true. Like I can only spend so long, like in having a headset on, or even like headphones.
Just playing a video game on a normal screen.
Exactly. Yeah. Like after a while, I mean, it does get tiring, and you're like, all right, I gotta go do something else. I mean, I know there's people that don't feel that way. There's people that stay online for hours at a time and piss in Mountain Dew bottles, but I would say most people they do get tired of it after a while. Yeah, I can't imagine having like going into AR for hours on end, and just I don't know. I just don't think it'll have the impact that they're thinking. Like Metaverse themselves speaking on that, or like Zuckerberg or whatever. And the graphics would have to get way, way better if you're going to have people, traveling places and stuff like that, in my opinion anyways.
Oh, for sure. Like I said, it's fun for gaming. Like, if you ever played Beat Saber, it's really cool.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But I just know after a while, like, just the headset is kind of heavy on your head and things like that. So, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see where it goes. I am excited for the technology. I'm just a little...
Oh, for sure.
A little skeptical of this whole, like, virtual world thing.
Yeah. I think it'll have...
But
I think it'll have a lot more, like you were saying, I think it'll have a much more practical use than like an entertainment or niche use. I mean, right now the metaverse is kind of niche. If you just looking at like user counts and stuff like that, there's a lot of people who have found a lot of value in the metaverse. I think people make games. I believe they did a documentary on it on YouTube if you want to go watch it. But they did a really good documentary on the people of the metaverse and like what they find useful in it and stuff. And some people have found really strong communities and stuff like that they couldn't find elsewhere in the metaverse. But I just don't see it being like an everyday thing. Like you get home from work and you put on your your metaverse headset and go shopping. I just don't see that as being I mean, I wouldn't want to do that personally. I mean, I'd rather
I've heard other use cases. Like, there's a couple guys in my work that have the Oculus headsets.
Yeah.
And they're talking about, it's cool for gaming, but sometimes they'll just sit in a chair because it takes up all your field of view.
Yeah.
You can watch a movie, and it's like having a 100-inch screen, 120-inch screen in front of you. So it kind of gives like a simulated movie, like theater experience.
So that I could see that being a huge thing, especially
people in small apartments, like say they have a studio apartment and like you can only reasonably get like say a 40-inch TV. Like it would be nice to have something a little bigger to just watch stuff on.
Or like to watch if you could watch like the World Cup or whatever, you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
like
that'd
something
be amazing.
You can't travel to, or like it's like cost prohibitive. I mean, that would be huge. I would love to do that sort of thing. That would be great if you could virtually go see like sports around the world or something like that, or any sort of.
Hey, write that down. We gotta copy mark that.
Put that in the notes. Let's send that to Zuck.
Hey, so Meta, you listening? It's gonna cost us $20,000 for that idea.
Yeah, I'm copywriting this idea.
Trademark.
Intellectual property. But yeah, that's a good one. I would love to see.
The other privacy concerns I have is a lot of these headsets, especially like the Oculus, they have cameras on the outside, which is good because you can make like a virtual boundary in your house. That way, when you're walking around, once you step outside the boundary, the cameras will actually show you what's in the room. That way you don't run into like a coffee table or something.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
I'd be curious if they use those cameras and if those cameras send anything back to the company. Because you mentioned, I think the last time we did a podcast about, was it Pearson View? And how when you took a test, it scans the room.
Yep.
So, there's just a bunch of little things that, be it kids, be it, the privacy of your own home. Like, I think there's all kinds of things that'll happen. And obviously, if you're in some kind of metaverse, they're going to collect all the metrics they can on you. Like, he spent this much time in a Yeezy store, like, or something, I'm just pulling something out of my...
Buying some controversial shirts.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they're absolutely going to mine as much data off of people as possible. Especially if we go into like full body suits and stuff. I mean, they're going to know your waist size. They're going to know how much you weigh. They're going to know, probably your health at that point.
Well, and the sky's the limit at these things.
Yeah.
If you do have a virtual world, are they going to be virtual terrorists?
I mean,
like, is it going to be like some Minecraft griefing stuff where like you pull up your store, like the sky is the limit. Like, we can speculate all day. I do think there are going to be some serious concerns. And, hopefully
absolutely.
it gets addressed. But like, hypothetically, what if ISIS puts on these VR headsets and they're like, all right, we're going to simulate, 9/11 or something.
Oh, no.
Like the sky is the limit. Like, you can go one way and say it's super beneficial, but like, as we've talked about before, technology is just a key, but it can open multiple doors. Now, for instance, nuclear energy, it creates a relatively low impact, energy source, or it can make a bomb. So, there's all kinds of things. Be interesting to see where this goes.
People will always use stuff for bad. I mean, it's just the nature of people. There will always be someone who uses anything, no matter how.
Yeah, what if there's an Epstein Island in the metaverse? Like, I'm just, like I said, the sky is the limit, good or bad. Like,
yeah, I mean, they could create a reality where he didn't kill himself.
Hey, bro, we're gonna get canceled by the Clintons, bro.
Yes, I do not want to unalive myself. If anything happens to me,
you guys heard it here first.
Oh man.
Speaking of Epstein, no, I'm just playing.
I was gonna say, whoa, why are you gonna tie this into?
We should probably wrap this up, man.
Yeah, let's stop this before we get ourselves.
Maybe we'll have a after dark podcast where we kind of delve into a little bit more of this crazy talk.
Do we?
Well, we've talked about it.
I mean, do we want to delve a little bit more into this?
Let us know if you're interested in the uncensored version of this podcast.
Yeah,
put it in the comments down below.
If one person says yes, I will listen. We'll make it.
Yeah, join our Patreon for the full uncut raw, like
the uncircumcised version.
What was that South Park movie? It's like bigger, uncut, raw, or whatever. I forget.
Yeah, that sounds about right with South Park.
Yeah.
But no, we don't have a Patreon. We don't get any money from this.
Yeah, we probably won't use Patreon. There's a lot of controversy around them.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like it.
It's bigger, longer, uncut. That's what the South Park movie's called.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, I don't think I would ever use. Well, I don't want to say ever, but I don't really like using like Patreon stuff.
Well, and I can make another topic real quick, just real short. There are some political commentators who use Patreon, and Patreon didn't agree with their views, and it wasn't even something that was posted on their platform. They said, we will look at all platforms you're on, and if we don't like what you're saying, we'll cut you from our platform.
Oh.
And it was just Patreon's just been really sketchy with some of their stuff that they do allow, but other stuff they don't allow. So if you like it, good for you. But
I mean, like I said in the past, private companies can do whatever they want. I can't say what they're doing is wrong, because they're a private company and they can do whatever they want. But people can speak with their money, for one, and two, with their time, which equals data that companies collect and stuff like that. So I mean, you definitely can voice your opinion through that. If you don't like something, if you don't like a company, then let it die.
Well, what this reminds me of is, what was it? It was around 2012, the whole net neutrality thing because of
yeah.
Was it SOPA and PIPA or something?
Yeah.
It just reminds me of that, and that while it's not a government, it's more private companies. Does this tie in? Is it a utility? Is it like the digital town hall? Stuff like that.
I don't know. I think there should be areas that are considered something like that, like the internet's town hall or whatever. Several websites and social media have claimed to be that entity.
And maybe it'll be the metaverse. A little full circle, like
I mean, maybe, but I don't know. Private companies can do whatever they want, in my opinion. I think they can do whatever they want. I think that people should stop trying to call out companies, in my opinion, and be like, "Oh, what you're doing is wrong," and just don't use it.
Well, I think it should still be talked about, because if it's not talked about, no one will know. But,
well, sure, it can be discussed. But people saying
if they are disgusted, they should, like you said, speak with their money, speak with their time, and go to a different platform.
Yeah, I just think that it's much more impactful, I guess. I'm not going to say you're wrong if you speak out against a company and are like, oh, I think what you're doing is immoral or unethical or blah, blah, blah. Obviously, it should be talked about, because that's how legislation gets made and stuff like that. Because people report on it, and then, makes the company look bad, and then makes the government look bad, and then they have to make a law. So it
doesn't always have to be legislation. It can just be a boycott. We've seen those be successful in the past.
Again, that's speaking with your time and money.
Yeah, if enough people speak about it and actually take action.
Yeah.
Like there's, say if you don't like what's going on with Twitter, right? There's plenty of, alternatives like Mastodon or a few others that I'm not going to mention because I'll probably get canceled. But,
I don't think we're big enough.
But
to get
Mastodon's
canceled.
like a good example, just because it's free, open source, it's federated.
Yeah.
Or a lot of the other alternatives to various social media websites, be it like Diaspora.
Yeah.
Diaspora. I forget how to pronounce it.
Yeah.
Friendica. There's a bunch of alternatives out there that if people really do not like what's happening, just move.
Which, by the way, we still got to make a video on all the alternative stuff.
I thought you were doing that.
I thought you were doing that.
Hey, we'll figure it out, guys. Stay tuned.
But no, that is a good point. And I think you hit the nail on the head exactly. I think the problem I have is when people bash companies and speak out against them, but there is no action behind it. If you really don't like a company, then speak out against it as much as you want, but then follow through with some sort of action and stop using it. It seems like that would be the most logical route if you actually want to get your point across, because otherwise you're just kind of talking to talk. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of squeaky wheels, but as we've seen, these companies don't want to give us any grease.
No, they don't care at the end of the day. If they're still making money, then why would they care what anyone has to say?
Yeah, they'll be like, oh, a few people are upset, but we have Mr. Beast over here pulling in tons of money.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, how many times have people spoken out against YouTube?
Ever since Google's bought them, yeah.
Probably hundreds of thousands.
This has been going on for over a decade,
And what have they exactly changed to make it better for content creators and or the audience? Pretty much nothing that wasn't advantageous to them. So they literally do not care unless it hurts their wallet or their metrics. Otherwise, it's all just white noise. I don't know, in my opinion. Maybe that's a depressing type of view, but that's how I see it.
Yeah, if everyone jumped off of WhatsApp and used Signal, WhatsApp would have to change.
Correct. Yeah.
Or they just become irrelevant.
Yeah. And if everyone stopped using it for a good reason and they become irrelevant, then no harm, no foul. There is always an alternative to anything on the internet.
And if there isn't, someone will create it. There's a lot of smart people out there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you create a vacuum, like if YouTube died tomorrow, someone is going to fill that vacuum. There will never be, there's never a vacuum in the internet, like in the cybersphere. There just isn't. Anytime any big company has gone down, someone has always filled that role and either made it better or has tanked themselves and then someone else took over. Time is a flat circle as far as the internet's concerned. Someone will always fill the role of anything that fails. So if you don't like something, let it fail, and then something better will come along, hopefully.
Rip Metacafe.
Rip MySpace. But anyway.
Rip Vine.
For real. Elon Musk should buy Vine next. Anyways, it was been kind of a depressing episode, but
yeah, I'm sorry we rambled on so much. You know.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you made it this far, thank you for listening, and if you agreed with us, thanks. If you didn't, let us know. We'll see you guys later.
Yeah, guys, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Thanks to our sponsor of this episode, Cafe Bustelo. Really good Cuban coffee, espresso ground coffee. I'm telling you, the Cubans know what they're doing. Speak out, you know.
Coffees and missiles. They got it on lock.
Hey, they got rid of those, man. You know,
oh, did they?
whole.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, the Cuban Missile Crisis. You don't remember?
Been in a coma for a while. Anyway, all right. Well,
check us out on Daily Motion, Vimeo, Odyssey.
Nope. Odyssey, yes, we are on Odyssey. Actually, I do think we have a Daily Motion account.
Oh, really?
I gotta see. I think I have one on there.
Oh, the more you know.
I don't know. I'll look it up. Anyways, all right. We'll see you later. Bye.